2010 marked the inception of Minecraft's most popular anarchy server 2b2t, at the time mostly referred as 2 builders 2 tools. And anarchy isn't an understatement. This server has no rules. You can do, build, destroy whatever you want and you wouldn't get kicked. Over the years in the oldest anarchy server in Minecraft, there have been some bad actors that have either exploited other players, created illegal duping operations to further exceed their goals, and even grant themselves admin powers to become a god. But out of all the criminals that have existed in 2b2t, there is one that stands above the rest. A person that doesn't care about relations, will backstab people, and grief about anything for the sake of just doing it. The player is Pop Bob, and she is considered to be a legend in 2b2t's history, being one of the pioneers of the anarchy server joining in early 2011. It is unclear what his gender, nationality, or appearance is. You would usually associate criminal griefer behavior to a male, but Pop Bob in the past has chosen to be preferred with female pronouns, so yeah. In 2011, Pop Bob joined a faction called Squidbase by the Face Punchers Republic, a group of individuals Pop Bob discovered while browsing 4chan. And Squidbase was believed to be the first group that Pop Bob joined, founded by Pyko5. Pyko invited Pop Bob to join a base, as she was one of the few active players around that time. She was credited with helping to build the glass dome, which is quite a feat especially for a griefer. He probably built other things as well. It's very hard to find subtle details from things that happened a decade and a couple years ago. Minecraft journalism is pretty hard. But Pop Bob's true colors showed later around late 2011, as the specific time isn't necessarily clear, but based on people's experiences and stories, we can more or less pinpoint the region of time. Pop Bob gained access to a backdoor exploit, basically giving herself admin powers to be on the same level as the server leader, Housemaster, giving her the ability to do whatever she wanted. This means she could spawn unlimited items and unlimited blocks, making her a near god of the anarchy server, and that's exactly what she did. She used this exploit to build Plugin Town, which was obviously made using some sort of cheats, as there is a castle made entirely of diamond blocks, diamond steps with glowstone hills, and yeah, just a lot of unnatural things. She also shared the backdoor exploit with some of the face punchers and her Squidbase allies, asserting her dominance on the anarchy server while also enriching herself and her allies. And with using this exploit, she griefed the base called Old Town, which was one of the first major bases in 2b2t, created by the Judge Holden, and had a few members that called it home for a couple of months. And Pop Bob with her backdoor abilities griefed the base, and with her underlined use of TNT and being able to teleport made easy work of Old Town, leaving it to ruins and members having to abandon. And Pop Bob with her friends enjoyed this exploit until Housemaster got involved and patched the backdoor exploit, rendering Pop Bob's abilities to gain items and resources infinitely no longer available. And about the whereabouts to Plugin Town, to this day it is unknown about the state of Plugin Town. There has never been any leaks of the coordinates or public statements by Pop Bob or Housemaster, as Plugin Town was shortly abandoned after the exploit was patched, leaving it there to sit for years on top of years. My guess is that it's been grief, just not documented. Perhaps the griefers were noble and didn't want to publicize it. Or maybe it still stands as a beacon of the rebelling that Pop Bob created to defy the server leader Housemaster, but compared to his other actions, this isn't much. In late 2012, Pop Bob created a new system of griefing, slowly becoming independent from his Squidbase companions. She was starting to become a force of nature. There was a method that Pop Bob used called Thunderhack, originally founded by a Tricka, which would locate bases by locating the general area of lightning strikes, which would only appear around active players. Of course, it didn't give out exact coordinates, but would find the general area of some bases located far away from spawn. Sometimes it would take days, most times weeks, and oftentimes months. But Pop Bob's devotion to griefing consumed her, and would use this exploit to discover bases all throughout the server, and players would start to make secret factions to fear if they would be the target of her next griefing operation. He would use this hack to find Imperator's base, which was a legendary establishment created by Imperator, a humongous base with several buildings that would be extremely difficult to build even in creative, so imagine building this in survival. This base had very iconic things like the famous Christ of Redeemer, the flags of several countries, this dome enclosure with trees, and several buildings for storage and basemates, and what appears to be a cathedral and this glass spiral thing. But of course, all good things come to an end, and knowing the hard work and months of devotion used to create this masterpiece of a base, Pop Bob did not care, and using Thunderhack discovered the coordinates of the base and did what she did best. She reduced the base into a huge crater with some structures demolished by TNT and lava. Pop Bob reportedly left a message carved into bedrock saying everything is Pop Bob, which was a sign of evil that meant it didn't matter how much time was spent on a base, it would only take a fraction of the time to destroy it. After this moment, Pop Bob's legacy grew and started to become a force of nature within the server's community, as the destruction of Imperator's base served as a lesson of how cruel the anarchy server can really be. I mean, if we look at Imperator's base and understand that this was created on a survival server, the time and effort to create something like this must have been unfathomable, and to be destroyed instead of respected truly lights a candle to Pop Bob's plight. Pop Bob also grieved Ravendell, a town created in early 2011 and was used as a stop for travelers to rest at. This base was primarily used to gather resources or for a break. Pop Bob would grief this base in early 2012, leaving the place abandoned. And Pop Bob wouldn't just grief players to scare them, would use psychological games to make players fear him. An example of this is from the story of Calm Town. Comtown was a base created in late 2012. This base had very notable players. These people would store hacked items as well as have an illegal end portal block that stood until it was later removed by Housemaster. The base would house many players including Pop Bob, who built an underground tunnel and created a stair to bedrock, and the base was slowly used until less people inhabited it, slowly becoming abandoned and later griefed by X0XP for people accusing him of griefing bases. Which is just hilarious because people accuse you of griefing, so you get mad and grief. Like, I guess they were right then? Well, the damage was very minimal and was left there until later being picked up again by XCC2 in 2013, inviting many players again to join the base and play together. Although the base was flourishing, there was some internal affairs that couldn't be resolved. There was some drama within the group, and I'm not sure of what that drama entailed. I failed to explain this when talking about the backdoor exploit, but Pop Bob and Tristan actually created a client called Thunderhack, which would serve to give users abilities to become overpowered, especially in Anarchy server environments. Overpowered abilities like Kill Aura, which would instantly kill players around you, Speed Hacks making you faster, X-Ray which would spot different ores and even bases, Free Cam making your POV a drone if you choose, and many other things. Pop Up wouldn't grant this client to everyone but only close allies or constituents, and built within this custom client created by Pop Up and Tristan, he had the ability to capture screenshots of other players' screens who used Thunderhack, as well as access to their files and access to their movements in-game. And with the whole Comtown drama brewing up, Pop Up specifically sent Amalimix and Cameron their specific desktops, basically doxing them, forcing them to permanently leave 2B2T out of fear. And it's quite ironic that Amalimix and Cameron were two of the three founders that initially founded Comtown in 2012, which is just crazy and shows the lengths that Pop Up would really go to. Later around 2013, Pop Up would join a group with Tristan, Jared 2013, and many others. This group was called Nerds Inc. and would use hacks to exploit and reign terror within the server. By the way, Jared 2013 is another person who I can make an entire video on just himself. If you see his grief bases on the wiki, it literally looks like an essay. So yeah, let me know if you guys want to see a video from Jared. I'm probably gonna end up making one either way, so but back to the video. But Pop Up and Nerds Inc. would grief many bases within a 2-year period, more specifically a story involving the infamous base Space Valkyrie, which was an end base rebuilt by Jack the Ripper. This base was built in the past but griefed. When Jack the Ripper knew about what happened to the initial version of the base, he proposed building a base where the first one was, as the base was less damaged than expected. Drew Bookman was one of the contributors from the first grief of Valkyrie, and after logging back in after a while and knowing the coordinates of the original base, it is believed that Drew Bookman leaked the coordinates of the base to Pop Bob, although not confirmed, and yes, you could probably tell Valkyrie got reduced to atoms, this time leaving it without any hopes of reconstruction. Pop Bob was also involved in the Lands grief. The Lands was a massive, highly detailed base on 2B2T founded by a player named Mohayan. It was known for its elaborate structures, aesthetic designs, and significant effort, making it one of the server's most impressive builds at the time in 2016. The Lands was protected by its remote location and a bed chain system, which required players to break and place beds in a specific sequence to teleport to the base. Pop Bob, working with Cartman and Taylor 112, reconnected the bed chain, which had initially been broken to prevent unauthorized access. Pop Bob, Cartman, and Taylor planned a coordinated scheme to locate the base, and once it was found, there was ultimate destruction, reducing the base to ruins, further implementing himself into 2B2 history as a tyrant and an unstoppable force. Afterwards, Pop Bob really stopped to affiliate with people and started to do solo operations, griefing bases on his normal and alt accounts. 2B2T players claiming he has griefed the most bases out of everyone. Her later years have become a complete mystery, periodically appearing on her main and all accounts, in 2016 changing his skin from the troll face to an all-white design, and later in the years changing his skin to a girl with a trans shirt, some people thinking it's satires or others believing she actually revealed her sexuality. As I mentioned in the beginning of the video, she prefers to be called by she/her pronouns, and on wikis and other creators have also started to prefer her as such as well. Either way, Pop Bob is one of the most elusive characters in Minecraft history, becoming a legend to be remembered as one of the most iconic griefers of all time. I'm sure I missed out some minor details. I mean, he is a player that's been playing for over a decade in the server, so I'm sure I've left a lot of things, and there's a lot of things that were also undocumented as well that we'll never know. And Pop Bob is still a very prominent figure today on 2B2T. People still talk about him. He's still a big legend. Although he hasn't had that much activity in the server as of recent, he is still in people's conversation. And about Pop Bob's whereabouts today, there was actually a video by Pixel where he was exploring 2B2T. It was probably like a month or 2 months ago, and Ani actually asked about Pop Bob and like kind of where he is today or whatever's happening to him, and there was somebody that kind of sneaked in that he was on parole, but then they kind of stopped talking about it. It was really weird. Take a look.
Oh,
Pop Bob.
okay. Yeah, okay. The less I say, the better.
Is he in jail?
Look, man, I'm not gonna talk about it, sorry.
Dude, keep it real. Is he the shit that everyone says, like Pop Bob? I feel like you're scared to even talk about it.
It's not my thing to talk about. He is Pop-Pop, I think, is doing pretty alright actually. That's all I can say.
What?
I'm pretty sure I heard that he's on parole. I don't know. You guys have better ears than me probably, so let me know, but he might be on parole for doing whatever ABC crime. And I know Pop-Pop is this ominous figure online that doesn't have an identity, and he's like this crazy, or she is this crazy person, my bad. But around like 4 or 5 years ago, I want to say around COVID, there was this picture of a little kid, and they were like, this is Pop-Pop, this is the real Pop-Pop, which I don't think is real. I think it's just like a funny little meme or whatever. I don't even know where this picture originated from or who this kid even is, but a lot of people do believe this is an actual picture of Pop-Pop, but I don't believe it because in 2012, he was literally creating hack clients with his friends, and I don't think any kid can do that. I mean, kids nowadays literally do anything, so honestly, I wouldn't even be surprised if this little kid was able to do that, but I don't know, I don't believe it. Anyways, if you have watched until this point of the video, I heavily appreciate it. Thank you guys so much for watching. Please subscribe if you liked the video. It only takes like 2 seconds, so that would help a lot. I do spend a lot of time on these videos, so I appreciate any type of feedback. Please let me know. And you guys can give me suggestions on whatever. Just let me know about anything you guys want me to make a video on. I'll probably, end up making it. So thank you guys so much for watching. Bye. Have a nice day. Drink water. Don't eat a lot of sugar. Bye.